What was the largest snake in history capable of? With what force could a giant ancient crocodile bite? And what was the trick that allowed even relatively small predators to defeat Titanoboa? Let's find out. In this episode, you'll learn about the incredible Titanoboa and the creatures capable of defeating it. Titanoboa. What do you feel when you hear this word? If it's entirely unfamiliar to you, that's wonderful, because there are many discoveries ahead. Titanoboa is a species of extinct snakes that existed about 60 million years ago. Judging by their skeleton structure, the closest relatives to them are boas. It might seem that if this was just an ancient boa or something very similar, there's nothing terrifying about it. Surely the snake couldn't grow to 50 feet long and weigh over a ton. Or could it? The exact dimensions of Titanoboa are still actively debated. People regularly find new parts of its skeleton, giant teeth, and remains of potential victims. Because of this, determining the exact size of the snake is still impossible. According to the most popular theories, it could grow over a ton and be 43 to 50 feet in length. But it's quite likely that it could have been even larger. But how did it manage this, you might wonder? Several factors contributed to this fantastic growth. First, during the period of Titanoboa's existence, the temperature was extremely high, giving the snake a literal carte blanche. It could be active year-round, never missing a hunting opportunity. It didn't even need to hibernate. However, to achieve such growth, hunting alone was not enough. It needed to have the right diet to maintain a balance of nutrients in its body. Honestly, we can leave these details to modern fitness trainers and their students. Titanoboa didn't care about rules and ate whatever it wanted. There were no limits for this snake. It could feast on huge crocodiles, some dinosaurs, large birds, or snack on small underground creatures. In short, Titanoboa had a fairy tale life, which unexpectedly ended one unfortunate moment. On the ruthless stage appeared other equally strong creatures that drove our guest away. These are the ones that we'll talk about next. And even though they did not meet Titanoboa in real life, they could have certainly put a wrench in its plans. The first serious opponent of Titanoboa I would mention is the Argentavis. This huge extinct bird lived in South America. The word huge seems almost disrespectful in this case. Until 2014, Argentavis was considered the largest known flying bird in the history of Earth. Existing 5 to 8 million years ago, this monster weighed around 150 pounds, and its wingspan reached 23 feet. This, for context, is twice the wingspan of albatrosses, the largest modern birds. According to data obtained from the analysis of its found skull, it was not a scavenger but fed on live, albeit usually not very large, prey. At the same time, its speed and power were enough to defeat even a giant like Titanoboa. Some experts say Argentavis could accelerate to 43 miles per hour. Now add wind acceleration, a 16-inch beak, and sharp claws. Birds are known to hunt on snakes well, and Argentavis would not have been an exception. Despite this, many will still think that Titanoboa would emerge victorious from the fight. Even considering that the legendary snake was not venomous, it was still too large for Argentavis and other flying creatures. It's like pitting a giant anaconda against a very young parrot. The poor bird wouldn't stand a chance against the snake. I won't argue. This version also has a right to exist. However, in my opinion, the one who would definitely emerge victorious from a battle with Titanoboa is Dinosuchus. Dinosuchus is an ancient and enormous crocodile whose weight could exceed 85 tons and whose body length could reach 40 feet. Its large and incredibly strong teeth seem designed to capture and kill large prey and crush the toughest shells and bones. Some might think that it's impossible and that Dinosuchus couldn't even bite through the shell of a huge turtle. By the way, I'll tell you about a giant spike-tailed turtle later, so be sure to watch this video until the end. Many won't believe in Dinosuchus' strength, but scientists, as usual, will set us on the right path. They used all modern technologies, combined their efforts, and concluded that Dinosuchus' bite force could equal more than 350,000 newtons. For comparison, the bite force of the largest Tyrannosaurus was more than 10 times smaller, estimated at only 345,000 newtons. To make it clearer, this force is equivalent to 355 tons. Imagine this huge monster hiding behind a tree or underwater, waiting for a passing Titanoboa or any other colossal creature, and ending its life in one swift move. The enemy would be so helpless that it wouldn't even have time to hope for the best. Once those deadly jaws closed, the eyes of its victim would never see light again. Megalania. Our next guest, fortunately, was not as fierce in terms of strength as Deinosuchus. Megalania could win in a different, more cunning way, and you can't say it's an unfair game. But before that, let's take a closer look at our guest and find out who it was. Before us is the largest known land lizard, famous for its decent running speed, high agility, excellent intelligence, and rather sharp teeth. Oh yes, I almost forgot. According to recent studies, Megalania was also incredibly enduring. The lizard grew up to 23 feet in length and weighed possibly around 2 tons. Again, these data are not final, but were obtained during the study of the most plausible version. According to it, this land predator remained young almost all its life and had the opportunity to pump itself full of growth hormones. The ultimate monitor lizard lived in savannas and sparse forests, hunting large mammals. Surely this psycho didn't disdain carrion, but its main feature was not this. There's an opinion that Megalania was an extremely smart lizard, so smart that it could see creatures that posed a danger to it and hunt their young to reduce the population of enemies. If this is indeed true, it means Megalania could have pulled off the same trick with Titanoboa. And since young snakes generally cannot defend themselves and don't even have venom, it wouldn't be difficult for it. Repenomamus. Oh, and here are some ancient creatures with a similar combat tactic. For a long time, scientists were convinced that their diet diversity was limited to only small and weak creatures. But recent findings changed everything. However, before we start talking about this, let's find out why they're called Repa and how they're mammoths. So our guests were given such an unusual name due to 2 factors. Because there are Repa, that is reptiles, and Mam, that is mammals. These guys combined the characteristics of both groups. For example, their teeth were already divided into incisors, canines, and cheek teeth like mammals. On the other hand, their limbs were short and turned to the side like reptiles, such as lizards or crocodiles. This combination of features made them the most primitive group of mammals of that time. But primitive doesn't mean weak. Firstly, compared to their counterparts, they were huge. The smallest Repenomamus grew to at least 1.5 feet in length and weighed around 13 pounds. Another species was about twice as large, making it the largest mammal of its time. Another nuance regarding Repenomamus was their diet. Scientists suggested that these animals were gourmet scavengers, but the structure of their jaws and teeth suggests a predatory lifestyle. With them, they could not only catch their prey but also bite and even tear it into small pieces. Therefore, as you might have guessed, Repenomamus could easily hunt young Titanoboas. No matter how much protection their mother provided, the giant could do nothing against these nimble predators. Moreover, according to some data, these predators hunted in large groups. So even in an emergency, the elder Titanoboa couldn't have dealt with them. It's like many bees swarming one adult human. One-on-one, a human would definitely win. But in life, such an equal fight simply doesn't happen. Alright, we've talked enough about small predators from the past. It's time to return to origins and look at other huge members of the bygone years. Spinosaurus was one of them. The largest skeleton of this creature, known only from a fragment of the skull, according to various reconstructions, could be 40 to 52 feet long and weigh 10 to 20 tons respectively. If you think that scientists might have been mistaken and confused Spinosaurus remains with someone else, know that this is not the case. At least our guest is easy to distinguish from other ancient creatures. It had an unusual spine. The processes of the spinal and tail vertebra formed something like a sail in size and shape, the purpose of which is still under question. One of the latest hypotheses is its role as a hydrostabilizer, i.e. an aid during movement. According to another version, this sail was necessary for thermoregulation. Be that as it may, Mother Nature never invents anything for no reason. So if you have your own versions, share them in the comments. In the meantime, let's move on to other equally interesting features of Spinosaurus. It's said that it could swim excellently using its long and flat tail. Generally, Spinosaurus strongly resembles a water monster. And if this is indeed the case, it could defeat Titanoboa underwater. It's said that this legendary snake could hide its young near the shore so that other predators couldn't find them. At some point, it even took them underwater. This is when Spinosaurus could have attacked the snake from different sides. After all, their crocodile-like mouths and long teeth were perfect for holding slippery prey like a snake. Titanosaurus rex. This ancient monster needs no special introduction. Everyone's seen movies like Jurassic World, right? The ones where giant dinosaurs run around the land and scare small humans? Well, in such films, this very Tyrannosaurus rex always appears. But is it really that strong? Let's find out. According to the films, this dinosaur was almost the leader of its time's food chain. And indeed it was huge, with a massive jaw and sharp teeth like razors. Its paws, as we see, were also large, meaning it could hit or accelerate without problems. Everything seems smooth and logical, but unfortunately, in real life, it was probably not the case. The speed of Tyrannosaurus rex, according to most, was no more than 19 miles per hour. For reference, if this is true, any professional sprinter could easily outrun it. Another nuance was its height. Despite its terrifying appearance and impressive size, Tyrannosaurus rex had a lightened skeleton, making it only a couple of tons heavier than a regular African elephant. There's also a belief that this giant didn't hunt anyone, that it wasn't a predator but a simple scavenger, aided by large olfactory bulbs. With their help, the dinosaur easily and quickly found any dead target and ate what was left of it. However, there is no exact data on this. After all, if it was indeed a scavenger, where did Tyrannosaurus find so much food to grow to such sizes? Therefore, it's currently impossible to say who will win in a battle with Titanoboa. Just as it's impossible to determine the exact strength of Myolania. Remember I promised to tell you about the unusual turtle? Well, here it is. Compared to our previous guests, this incredible turtle became extinct only about 50,000 years ago. That is, quite recently. It grew up to 16 feet in length and mainly ate plants. It's funny that when its skeleton was discovered, people didn't believe it was a turtle. They mistook our guest for an ancient monitor lizard. Fortunately, everything eventually returned to normal, and the world learned about Myolania. The word lania, by the way, means butcher, which doesn't quite fit with what I mentioned earlier about its plant-based diet. But don't worry, it was named butcher for a good reason. Many scientists are convinced that this turtle could defeat almost any predator of its time, as it was greatly helped in battle by its spiked and armored tail. It used it like a club, ensuring its inviolability. It meant that it couldn't be jumped on from above because of its shell, and it couldn't be snuck up on from behind. Titanophonius. Such an animal name was given to our next ancient guest, known for its strong and powerful build. It had strong incisors and very sharp fangs, 8 to 9 pairs of additional small teeth, not the longest but muscular legs with wide hands and feet, and also a fairly long tail to protect itself in extreme cases and to not interfere during running. In short, this was a solid all-rounder with an ancient but incredibly effective hunting method. Titanophonius spent almost all its free time in the water. Just like a hippo or some kind of crocodile, it slowly but surely examined the territory for uninvited guests. Its victim could be literally anyone, since Titanophonius always attacked from an ambush. In this case, the attacker is initially in a more advantageous position, and if it also has powerful teeth, strong paws, and a functional tail, the enemy, alas, will most likely be doomed to death. It's said that the sharpness of its teeth and the strength of its bite were sufficient to tear apart even the toughest mollusk shells. I'm sure that even such a tough nut as Titanoboa would not be a problem for Titanophonius. And now let's return to snakes, or rather to those who managed to give wicked predators a decent rebuff. Messed with the wrong opponent. This clip shows a giant cobra trying to attack an equally large Komodo dragon, and apparently due to its relatively impoverished mind, the slithering creature really thinks it stands a chance. I'll tell you this, even if we take into account the fact that this snake is quite strong and has large size, it literally has no chance of winning against the Komodo dragon. After all, on the opposite side of the ring is the largest of the currently existing lizards and the heaviest modern representative of the scaled reptiles order. Some Komodo dragons can be more than 13 feet long and weigh about 290 pounds. But don't think that because of this, Komodo dragons are not mobile. On the contrary, they're strong and at the same time agile. If necessary, they can clear their stomachs, getting rid of excess weight, and accelerate. And if someone still catches up with them and decides to try their luck in an equal battle, the Komodo dragon will offer its opponent a very powerful bite with no less powerful venom. The corresponding glands are located right in its lower jaw. Fearless lump of sweetness. It's quite problematic to imagine what a creature that can be described with these 4 words looks like, especially if you haven't seen prairie dogs before. These creatures are harmless and cute as much as possible. At the first encounter with them, no one will think that these are real tyrants of the animal world, demanding special respect and attitude towards them. They live in the wasteland, they build houses on their own, and they always hang out with one whole family and respect their congeners. Also, prairie dogs are ready to help their congeners all day long and shelter them from any harm. Gathered in a whole family, these cute creatures dig full-fledged underground complexes consisting of many sectors. In some, they store water. In others, they sleep. And in still others, they make food stash. Also, nature has endowed them with incredible courage. Such courage that they're not afraid of a snake or any other dangerous and large creature. Statistically, dozens of predators are killed by just one prairie dog every year, and it would be okay if it was feeding on them, but it's not the case. All this is done just for the safety and protection of their territory. Oh, by the way, here's the snake that was lucky enough to stay intact. The older prairie dog found it lurking near their house and immediately forced it to get away. Probably looks very strange and unusual in the snake's head. You're venomous, dangerous, and strong, and you're being chased away by some cute and fluffy but insanely confident animal? Acting skills. In the case of prairie dogs, I can understand their confidence. There are dozens of them out there. All of them have sharp claws and equally sharp teeth, so whatever the predator is, it's likely to be in trouble. But it can't be said about the horned lizard that spends most of the time completely alone, which means that it really has no one to count on. What can it do in this case? Well, Mother Nature has its own original answer to this too. It gave these lizards the ability to masterfully disguise themselves. As soon as they feel the slightest danger, they immediately turn over on their backs, creating the illusion that they've long since died. Strangely enough, this trick works well, and every time it helps them get away with it. Speaking of horned lizards, they have another, more spectacular ability, also aimed at defense. These creatures have learned to shoot blood from their eyes. In a similar way, these guys scare their enemies. The usual firing is due to blocking the flow of blood from the head. The pressure in the eyes grows so much that the capillaries explode, showering the enemy with a thick jet of blood. In addition, blood has an irritating effect due to the diet in the form of ants in these animals. As a result, the predator is not only scared but also gets hurt, as if it was sprayed with pepper spray. While some animals long chase the target and scare it, and others shoot blood or pretend to be dead, the brown snake eagle deals shortly with anyone and immediately attacks anyone that dares to get in its way. Even if it's a venomous snake, as in this video, the feathered creature will not care at all. Its legs are naturally protected from bites, so it can jump on the enemy right from above with no fear. Along with this, it has quite hefty size. The body length reaches 29 inches, and the wingspan can be up to 67 inches. Like other hawks, the brown snake eagle has great eyesight and incredible flight speed, which makes it a terrific raptor that's better not to mess with. The following video shows a brazen snake attacking a rabbit's nest with several babies in it. It's unclear how many of them the snake managed to harm, but in the end, the mother intervened. It immediately pounced on the creeping creature and forced it to loosen its grip. Some baby rabbits escaped, and the female rabbit, that realized that the kits were already safe, directed all its power against the monstrous predator. Personally, I used to think that rabbits are the sweetest and the most harmless creatures that are afraid of everyone and everything in the wild, but as this video shows, it's not the case at all. But maybe it's all about maternal instinct. Anyway, the mother chased the scoundrel away from its nest and returned to its babies. Another animal that can also confront snakes is the bobcat. In fact, their arsenal of tools to help in the hunt is amazing. The bobcat can go mouse hunting to retrieve an inattentive rodent from under the snow, or it can easily hunt from a tree or from a bush ambush. This felid is quite versatile. Even the ear tufts seem to help the bobcat in its hard life. Its hearing is close to perfect. The hunter knows exactly where a pheasant sits or a snake slithers. However, if possible, these cats, on the contrary, do not hurry to enter into battle with animals. They settle near cities or other human habitats and try to steal food from humans. The latter is not so agile to catch a nimble cat and will almost never chase after it. So we're ideal helpers for their nutrition. By the way, I said that a human wouldn't chase after it, but even if they did, they'd hardly be able to catch up with the animal. These agile creatures can jump 13 feet long, as well as swim flawlessly and quickly. Sonic. That's what I would call the hero of the following video that decided to clash in a battle with a snake. Okay, I was a little hasty with the word clash. The mongoose adopted the tactic of exhausting its opponent. It probably wanted the snake to get dizzy, and that's when it would have pounced on it. These animals are immune to the venom of many snakes, but they still try not to risk getting hurt in a fight. People even specially have mongooses on their property to take them to different countries and territories to fight dangerous venomous snakes. Their incredible agility makes them literally elusive and impregnable to the slithering creatures. Perhaps because of this, or perhaps for some other reason, they're considered sacred animals in central India. In other countries, it's not uncommon to see mongooses in someone's home. These creatures like physical contact. They're cute, and they do not mind to rub themselves against the legs of their owner and then curl up in a ball near them. After all, these sonics also need to rest. Sandcat. This representative of the animal world lives in deserts and hunts the creatures living there. Snakes, mice, insects, birds, and so on. Yes, you heard it right, the cat hunts snakes, this cute, handsome, and furry animal. As is usually the case, the appearance can be deceptive, and behind the kind appearance, a very evil and aggressive animal can hide. However, the sandcat becomes such only when something or someone threatens its family. In this case, as in the video, the cat is ready to challenge even a giant python. And do not compare them in terms of size. The sandcat is far from the biggest, but in its paws there's an incredible power that can instantly stun an impudent target. It takes a minimum of time to bend the paws, and the acceleration during the bend is serious. If the sandcat suspects that it's been spotted, then in a second it will push its powerful paws off the sand and run for the nearest hill. The goal is to find cover and lie low. However, in life, sandcats do not spend all their time in one place. They realize that birds of prey or snakes are not dormant, but are constantly looking for prey. So it's important for these cats to change their location, constantly exploring new areas. So in a day, this desert predator can travel up to 6 miles or even more. Not only snakes can be venomous. In the seas and oceans, you can find equally venomous fish. Next, I'll show you creatures that are more dangerous than even the king cobra. Let's start with the fish that holds the title of the most venomous on the planet. This is the stonefish. This is not only the most venomous representative of fish, but also one of the most venomous and frightening animals in the world in general. This creature is only 6 to 8 inches long, with a large, ugly head, small eyes, and a large mouth with protruding lower jaw. The fish, justifying its name, masquerading as a stone or a rock on the seabed, waiting for prey, and then sharply sets its jaws in motion, devouring the prey. Sometimes the stonefish goes into battle on its own, even attacking larger prey, for example, an eel. Predators, on the contrary, find it difficult to attack the stonefish. Because it has rigid and venomous spines on its back, it's through them that the venom flows. When someone presses the stonefish, it pierces the prey and injects venom into the prey. This venom is extremely dangerous for many fish as well as for humans. Quite a few people have died after such an injection in just a few hours or even minutes. Those who have managed to survive have had a very hard time. Victims compare the venomous injection of stonefish to being hit with a sledgehammer for hours on end. It only takes a few months for the symptoms to completely go away. On the other hand, people themselves can get revenge on this fish, for example, by cooking it for dinner. That's what they do in Japan. But much more often in Japan, they cook other dangerous fish. I'm talking about fugu, of course. These fish of the pufferfish family are famous for their ability to bloat in times of danger, their unusual appearance, and of course, their poison. The organs of fugu contain a poison that's almost 300 times more toxic than the well-known cyanide. Just a few dozen milligrams of fugu poison is enough to kill 30 people. 60% of poisonings are fatal. First comes paralysis and numbness, and then the victim stops breathing. According to scientists, at this moment the victim feels euphoria, comparable to the effect of illegal substances. By the way, dolphins deliberately bite into fugu to get a small dose of poison and get high. Despite all this, in Japan, fugu is a national delicacy. However, not everyone cooks fugu. The chef has to be a true master because the lives of the customers are at stake. Besides, the chef has to have a license. In ancient times, no licenses were issued, but there was a law. If a customer died, the chef committed harikiri. Lionfish. In contrast to pufferfish and stonefish, lionfish look very nice. They're beautiful fish between 8 to 18 inches long with a striking appearance and are common in the Indo-Pacific region. Because of its expressive fins, the lionfish is sometimes called the firefish or the butterfly cod. It's worth admiring this beauty from a distance and on no account touching its fins. There are toxic needles lurking in them. They're so toxic that the venom retains its power even after the death of the fish. Just one prick can cause a person to lose consciousness or go into severe shock. In addition, poisoning with the venom of the lionfish is accompanied by convulsions and congestive heart failure. Besides, gangrene can develop in the puncture area, and the pain from the puncture lasts for several hours. It's amazing how toxic such a small fish can be. For this feature, it may well be called unusual, like many other fish that are worth a look. Keep watching to see the fish with the most powerful teeth, the largest and smallest fish in the world, and the sea creature that can outdistance everyone in the ocean. What do you think has the strongest bite? Maybe a great white shark or a barracuda? Actually, piranhas have the strongest bite. If you take body size in relation to jaw strength, it's the piranha that comes first. The piranha's bite force exceeds its own weight by 30 times. This would be the same as if a human could bite harder than a huge crocodile. The name piranha itself means scissors in one of the local Indian languages. The piranha's teeth work just like scissors. Closing, they're able to break a small branch, gnaw the carcass of an animal, and break a metal rod. Fortunately, piranhas are not as dangerous to humans as is commonly believed. History has not recorded any deaths from attacks of piranhas. These fish are timid and usually do not attack large objects, but they can easily injure people. A piranha will bite a human finger in a split second without even noticing the bone. Sharks are much more dangerous for people. They're less well-known toothy creatures. According to statistics, it's sharks that can be called the most dangerous fish for people. Each year, about 80 unprovoked shark attacks on humans occur, and about 10% of such attacks end fatally. Particularly dangerous in this regard are the great white shark, which is rightfully called a man-eater shark, the tiger shark, which can eat anything at all, and the bull shark, an aggressive, crazy creature which can live even in rivers. The mako shark is also dangerous. It attacks people and sometimes jumps directly onto boats. But not all sharks are dangerous. There are also harmless sharks, such as the whale shark, and this despite the fact that it's the largest of all sharks, and even among all fish in general. These fish can grow to 66 feet in length, although mostly they're individuals which are about 40 feet long. They weigh about 20 tons, but there were also individuals weighing over 30 tons. Like the common whale, after which it's named, the shark feeds on plankton, which it sucks into its giant mouth. By the way, it has up to 15,000 teeth. They're so tiny that they don't pose a threat to humans. In addition, the whale shark itself will never attack a person. It's a pity that such an amazing giant is on the verge of extinction. The next animal in this episode is the exact opposite of the whale shark. If the latter is the largest fish in the world, this fish is the smallest of all. Its scientific name is Pitocyprus progenitica. The maximum length of the fish is about 0.3 inches. At first glance, it's even difficult to believe that this is an adult fish and not some minnow or other organism. You can find this baby fish in Indonesia. It's endemic to this country. The fish is found in peat bogs with very acidic water, as well as in streams with a slow flow and reservoirs with standing water. The tiny fish is found only in shaded ponds. It's never been observed in an open, brightly lit area. What's interesting, the body of this fish is translucent, and the skeleton of the head is so small that it leaves the brain completely unprotected. It's all because of the tiny size of the fish. Because of it, females can carry only a few eggs, and the male's genital organ is so small that it's able to fertilize each egg individually. So you won't get bored, let's speed up this episode. The sailfish, the fastest fish on the planet, will help us with this. This racer boasts an incredible speed of up to 68 miles per hour. For comparison, the great white shark accelerates at about 25 to 31 miles per hour. The crazy speed of the sailfish is due to its muscular body and special shape of the muzzle. The outgrowths on the upper and lower jaw create turbulence, which reduces water resistance and allows the sailfish to develop greater speed. The sailfish's tail also creates turbulence due to the high frequency and small amplitude of the sweeps, which creates even greater acceleration. Only one fish in the ocean can compete with the sailfish in high-speed swims, and that's the black marlin. The sailfish is faster than it at the start, it has insane acceleration, but the black marlin swims better at the same high speed. The black marlin accelerates up to 53 miles per hour, thanks to which it chases even motorboats with people. Dwarf seahorse. And now, on the contrary, let's slow down a bit. But actually, we'll slow down a lot, because we're facing the dwarf seahorse, the main slowpoke of the underwater world. You could call it the marine version of the sloth because it's the slowest fish on the planet. Only 5 feet per hour. That's its limit. Just imagine in what shock would be this seahorse if a sailfish took it for a ride. But don't think that the dwarf seahorse is some kind of loser. Despite its slowness, it's a very successful hunter. Almost every hunt by the dwarf seahorse is successful. This fish is able to grab prey that swims several times faster and does so swiftly. What's interesting, dwarf seahorses prefer to move long distances, clinging to floating algae and debris. This saves strength. But during a storm, slow travelers constantly run the risk of being washed ashore with their unreliable watercraft. And finally, I suggest you take a look at some unusual finds and catches of fish. The first is the most recent one. In mid-October, an ocean sunfish, the heaviest of all bony fish, was found off the coast of Portugal. For over 100 years, the record was held. In 1908, near Sydney, they caught an ocean sunfish weighing 4,927 pounds. In Portugal, they found a fish weighing 6,049 pounds. The giant turned out to be almost 11.4 feet long and wide. Late last year, a fish called football fish washed ashore in San Diego, USA. It's one of the representatives of anglerfish. These monsters live in great depths, so such a find has become a rarity. In addition, the fish was perfectly preserved. Finally, several years ago in Norway, fisherman Oskar Lundahl went to catch halibut in the North Sea. But instead, he caught some strange mutant with giant eyes. To this day, it's not entirely clear what Oskar caught. Huge tarpon. The guy in the following video was fishing in shallow water. He didn't swim out into the deep water or use a net, but just cast his rod farther out and waited. As time has shown, the most important thing in life is patience. It was only through patience that the fisherman was able to catch such a giant tarpon. Just look at its size. It's as big as a human being. I'm surprised the guy even managed to lift such a big creature. Yeah, the emotions of the catch were just incredible. It's not for nothing that the tarpon is considered one of the cult fish for fishermen. It's valued not only for its size, but also for its extremely insane disposition, which makes catching the sea creature not at all simple. The process of catching a tarpon is the endless jumps and dives, sharp jerks in different directions by the fish, as well as the constant tension that piles on the fisherman, because under these conditions it's necessary to maintain control over the prey. The slightest loss of control only ends in one thing: the loss of the fish. The only good thing for those wishing to test their fishing skills is that the tarpons swim close to shore, and it's not bad luck of fate, it's the fish's own choice. Already at a young age, it begins to hunt small fish and insects that are careless to approach the surface of the water. Also, tarpons can feed on crabs, shrimps, and other crustaceans. Atlantic Goliath Grouper. The fish from the following story also has an alternative name: the Jewfish. This is a real monster of the depths which pretends to be a rock somewhere below and, quite unexpectedly for passing fish, eats them in one swift lunge. The Atlantic Goliath Grouper lives in the warm coastal waters of the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of the Americas and Africa. In life, they're slow and indifferent fish. The only moment that makes them somehow move is the communication with relatives. Atlantic Goliath groupers can make a deafening sound with an air bladder. This is how they report their location. But it doesn't always work, or rather, not in every situation. For example, here people caught an Atlantic Goliath grouper and none of its congeners could help it. Fortunately for the fish itself, the people were fishing for fun. They were interested in the process, not the catch, so they let the grouper go. The first time I saw people lower a creature they'd fished out to the ground, I thought it was some kind of a new Batmobile or something. It was so gigantic and unusual, but it was even more interesting than that. We're looking at the giant oceanic manta ray. For the most part, 13-foot individuals weighing 3,300 pounds swim in the world ocean. The head fins are more like horns. The animal uses them as hands. The caudal fins are legs, and the pectoral fins are wings. The manta ray sets the direction of movement with its tail and regulates the speed with its massive wings. The maximum speed of this creature is about 19 miles per hour. That's all, guys. Which giant impressed you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.